Hi everybody, this is Julissa. Thank you everyone for coming back to my channel. Today is Wednesday, February the 3rd, 2021. I know it's kind of late, but I wanted to come here and make a video. Another video, not really talking about the news and things that are happening, but if anything, I know a couple of days ago I spoke about work, and we can be so tempted to go for this stimulus money that's coming, the help that's out there, get loans that you don't have to repay in 5 years. It's so tempting. But with that, with every temptation, there's a danger to it. Not everything is meant for us to take. And speaking about the stimulus check, just now, I mean, today the president had a news conference about the rescue package. That's what he's calling it. His plan to send relief to American people, and they're saying they're thinking the deadline for them to decide on what to do will be the second week in March, around March 14. I'm thinking to myself, this is why, guys, you cannot put your trust on anybody, only Jesus. I feel like these people come out here and they tell you what you want to hear. Like I was saying last night, with itching ears, they tell you what you want to hear to get that boat. And look where they're thinking now. They're not thinking of doing this, in February. It's already February. They're thinking of, they have the deadline to do this the second week in March. It's just so crazy to me that people don't see it. I feel like he only been in power for a little bit, and a lot of the things that he promised, there he's not already doing it or not, or working towards it. And this is why you have to learn. I think we learned so much from the election, and you know and having visions about the president and things like that. Like I said in a couple of my videos, you have to be so careful about what you think is coming from God, because you might be advising people about something that you saw or had a vision or whatever, and that might not be necessarily coming from God. But anyways, like I said, I was not going to talk about the news. I was going to talk about work and having a job, because it's just, I feel like at times it's a pandemic in its own. The amount of people who depend on the government for assistance. I think having medical assistance, having funds to pay for your housing, for your rental, and having that the food stamps. I think that's great if I think that's great when you need it, but everything like that should be temporary, especially if you're a Christ believing person. I mean, the Bible, there's plenty of verses about work in the Bible, and having, and earning your living. I don't think, if you go through rough waters, I guess we can call it, it is available for you to get that help for that moment that you need it, for a season. Everything is in seasons. But there are people who stay on that. They get so used to it, and they don't see the need to go out there and get a job. And that's when the problem lies, because it becomes a stronghold and they don't see it. It's almost like, and this is not, I don't believe this is an issue of, oh, it's hard to get a job out there. I think it's more when people have been in government assistance, they're not sick, they're not elderly, they're fully functional, but yet they go back to that government assistant because they might say, I qualify, I don't have a job. When they fail to at least go out there and try to get a job on their own, they already have a stronghold with that. And you know like I said before, nothing in life is free. You might be thinking, I get all this money free, I get for food, I pay for my house, and they pay for my electric. Really, I don't. Some people might say I don't have a need to go and get a job, but then you are basically a slave to them, because if that food stamp is not being sent to you every month, you're gonna freak out. Like, and you're depending on them instead of depending on God to provide you from your, to earn a living, doing a job, for His glory, for obviously for God's glory. And they are offering way too. I mean, there. I know we're going through a pandemic. I do understand people who lost their job. I mean, I remember, like I told you guys, during the summer, I started something, and it just didn't work out. And I remember leaving on a Monday, and by Thursday I was already, given an offer for another position. And what happened there was, in my understanding, what happened there was, I didn't. It was I could have just take a few weeks out because, back then, everything was doing okay for me. But then I'm like, you know what, this is like, I shouldn't do that. So I went ahead and started that, like, that moment when I said I'm not going back to that place. I started sending out, my resumes, and I got an opportunity within 3 days. I was already giving an offer. So I think, when you really, want something, faith without works is dead. So you have to do something. You can't rely and say, live in the housing projects for 20 years and say, I always try to get a job, but nobody calls me. A lot of the times you have to do the calling. Um, I remember, sometimes I miss, how I was during my college years, because I remember just applying just to get a part-time job during school. And back then, I know the internet was not like what it is now. But I remember I used to call this agency. I used to call this guy, the supervisor. I used to call him every Friday. I was so persistent. Like, um, and I feel like that's what I should go back to, and use that in my business. And if anybody's listening to this, if persistent is everything, that the Bible talks about, that somebody who is persistent, that you come knocking at the middle of the night and you're asking for something, and just because that, interruption, like, even if that person doesn't want to do it, like, then let me just take care of it, because it's not like, it's basically, she's not like, it's not gonna go anywhere if I don't take care of it. um and I think that's so important for us to go back to have that persistent, instead of being, accustomed to our circumstances. It's so easy to say, unemployment is giving way too much money now, so why even bother to get a job? But really, that's your life, to live on unemployment. um, it's just so strange to even know that right now people think like that. And your faith is on the government, what they might do. And look, this guy started in office and he promised a bunch of stuff, and now he's kind of like taking his time. Like, of course, we don't expect things to be done overnight, but when they come out to the microphone, they say this is going to be done, this and the other, and now it's like, oh, we don't know. And the SBA, for small businesses, taking their time too, and it's already February, like nothing is really moving. It's all there. It's almost like you see that pot of water, um, with the dirt on top. It's all there, but nobody's going there to shake it off and like to make it disappear. We have the pandemic, we have the problems, we people are in need, and it's basically nothing is really moving. And you think they're moving ahead. Now they're saying they're thinking of doing something by the second week of March. So that's what I'm talking about, guys. I feel like, you have to be persistent. If you cannot get a job, just keep trying. There are a lot of jobs out there. God did not call us to be just like, you know, waiting on a government to make a decision so that we can have some income. That's no way to live. And I'm going to give you a couple verses about that, because I think it's so important to remember. As a Christ believer, you always want to go back to am I living the will of God? Am I doing the will of God for my life? Being in unemployment assistance for what it's for, like for that time range, that you need it, it's okay because it's available for you. That's available for you. Um, but to live on that, that's where the issue comes. When something becomes so permanent, like you live in housing projects forever, and you're basically very capable of getting a job, that's a problem. That's a stronghold in your life. Um, so, you got to be stagnate. I think that's the word for it. It's so easy to be like that, though. You get used to your circumstances, and you're like, this is all there is. So why even try? What I was saying about that guy that I used to call during my college years. Every Friday I made sure in the morning, like I remember, I think Fridays I didn't have any classes, and I used to be like, I need a job because I had made my schedule. I remember that semester specifically. I had left Thursdays and Fridays because I knew I needed a job. I mean, I'm in college, so I need the income. And I was like, I used to call him every Friday. I would just call him to, like, that was in my top list of things to do. And then one time he's like, you know what, Julissa, you're so persistent. I like that about you. You want to come in for an interview. And then he hired me right there on the spot when I went for my interview. And it was a great paying job. For me to be in college and just working part-time hours, I thought that was great. And, I had made open. So that's the other thing. You have to be prepared too. I remember when I was signing up for classes, I made sure specifically that whatever classes I needed to take, I made sure that I was going to be able to take it within the 3 days and leave Thursday and Friday just to get a job. Because I knew I needed time to take care of my college work. So I'm like, in the weekends I can do that. But if I'm working 8 hours, Thursday, that's still, 16 hours. So that's still really good. Um, so, I said, I'm available Thursday and Friday and things like that. And he hired me right there. It was so convenient. It was a great corporate office. And I was, the college person that was just, I'm doing the data entry. And everybody was super nice. And they pay really good. I mean, I will always remember that because that's the thing that he said to me. I will always remember what he said. He said, you're so persistent. I love that about you. You want to come in for an interview. Like he could have so many resumes and people who probably qualified the most, but nobody made the effort to call. And I think these days now, and I'm totally guilty of that. I can easily send an email because I know people don't like to be called, but that's what I'm saying. That's also in the Bible. Sometimes people do things just to just get you away, like, she's not just gonna give up. Let me just do it for her. And that's okay, like then you get to prove to them that they made the right decision. So anyways, guys, that's just my little testimony. So like I said, be prepared to. So I remember leaving those 2 days just so that I can say, it's crazy to go for a job interview and be like, oh, I actually cannot do, I can only do after 5. They'll be like, well, you're not even available. Like, why are we wasting our time here? So you have to be prepared. There is a code. I wanted to say this. There is a code that goes online on Pinterest, and it says, "Opportunity dances with those already in the dance floor." You really cannot be expecting for something to happen in your life if you're not ready for it. And I can talk to you guys forever about this because when I first opened my business, um, you know, I remember being invited. Like I opened like in June, and I just wanted a studio where I can work. It wasn't really a store, but when I registered my business, I had to classify it as something. So I made it like a store, and for business paperwork purposes, and I already had stuff made and things like that. But it wasn't really like a collection, like a fashion collection that made sense. And I remember, so I opened June, like this right there. I registered in June my business to make it official, it was actually a month after I moved into the studio. And when I registered in June, um, 2 days after, I mean, that day, I went to register at City Hall. And I remember getting a notification, an email from somebody who saw me on Facebook. And he's like, I'm doing an event for entrepreneurs here in Danbury. Would you like to join? I mean, I wasn't even set up to take credit cards, but I was offered a booth already in this great space, huge event, and it was gonna happen like 2 days after, like that Saturday. I think I registered on a Tuesday, and that's just how it is. Like once you take that step, God is gonna make it possible for you, but you gotta do something. And I remember I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not even registered to take credit card payments, but I'm just gonna go with what I have. And I went to the dollar store because for me, branding, guys, branding is everything. So I want to make sure if I'm gonna have a booth, I need some type of branding. So I went, I was getting everything. I already had my tons and tons of jewelry that were just sitting at my house. Like I said, I just barely opened the studio within a month. Just had a couple skirts and dresses that I made. Nothing really a collection, but I was like, I'll bring them. Why not? But it was basically an event for entrepreneurs, and also based on science and like creating things. So I was like, I'll bring all the jewelry that I make. I went to the dollar store, bought a tablecloth. I'm like, did I? Oh, they were providing the table, so I'm like, okay, they have a table, so I using their tablecloth, and I brought this piece of what is that called? It's the a poster board, right? And I wrote my name, my logo, and Julissa Designs, Glory to God, and I put it, I put it on the curtain that was dividing the booth, and I just went with it, and it was just so amazing to just register the business that same week, and being reached out right away to participate in this great event. It was like so quick, it was so fast, everything that happened was just so fast. And that, that's what it is. You have to be ready. You have to be ready. And then after that, November came, and I was already being contacted about participating in Fashion Week. And then what I started doing is, I always had a full-time job. So I took vacation time, like in around that time, just to create a full collection. And then after that, the year, like after that, I was like, I really want to do a show here in town, right here, where I'm based in Danbury. And I was like, let me just start sewing. And then I remember my Instagram had like 100 followers, and I was like, let me just make a poster, you know. I actually, guys, to be honest, I was not gonna talk about this, but um, the best way to relate to somebody, I guess you can say, to show them the power of God working in your life is to give your testimony. I have so many testimonies when it comes to my fashion. And I remember I really wanted to do a show. Like I knew the desire was in me to do a fashion show in downtown Danbury. And my studio was already there in downtown Danbury. Like it's really in downtown. Like you cannot get more downtown than where I am located. Um, and I was like, how am I gonna get models? Like I don't even know. Like I would ask people, they're like, oh, I don't know, that's not for me, and like coworkers and stuff. And then I was like, I'm just gonna. So I put a poster. I made a poster and I put fashion models wanted. And it's so crazy because then I started getting notifications from local people. Like I got people who I never thought would want to model. And I said, I only have two. Do you know anybody else who wants model? They're like, hold on. She's like, I got you another person, I got you. And then I started doing fittings, and this thing came alive. It was just so insane. And the place next to me was like a restaurant catering business. And the guy was always so friendly. The minute I moved in, he was always so friendly, trying to figure out what it is that I did and things like that. I guess people are always so curious to see. So he was like, I do catering. Anytime you want to do anything, let me know. So I went and reached out. I said, I'm planning this show. How much is it to rent the space? And then I'm like, I really, everything was so insane. Like that first fashion show, everything I wanted was like provided right there. And then I was like, now I need a photographer. Like, how am I gonna get all these people to come together? They're so happy to be able to do a fashion show, and I don't even have somebody to go and take a photo for them, like a professional. And there it goes on Twitter. I got somebody who he reached out to me and said, "Hey, Julissa, I'm a local photographer. Anytime you need something, let me know." And I was like, "Ooh, I have somebody now." So I reached out and I said, "I'm planning this fashion show. Are you able to, collaborate with me?" And he was like one of the best photographers I work with. And then, everything, God provided everything that I needed. I mean, to even, I was going to have the models with me. I said, why don't you guys want to come early that day? It was on a Saturday. I said, why don't you guys come early? And you know, I was like, how am I going to feed these people? Because I wanted them to come early and I wanted them to do their own hair and makeup. Because we're gonna help each other. I say I don't have a makeup person, but we're gonna help each other. The makeup person came like during fashion photo shoots, so I did get eventually somebody to help with makeup. But during that first show, I was like, I'm gonna have the models here from 12 to like the show was at 7 p.m. I need to give them something to eat. Like I gotta feed them, and then out of nowhere, like I started Chick-fil-A at the local mall was doing a contest saying we're gonna whoever enters this contest is gonna win like a catering spread from Chick-fil-A. How crazy is that? You're feeding Chick-fil-A to the models before the show. But like once again, this is a different type of show. We don't, it's not really about that. But they were like, I entered the contest and they were very, I think it was on via Twitter. So they already follow me on Twitter, the shop, local Chick-fil-A. And I remember winning the contest. I was like, oh my goodness, I won. And they were like, yeah, we'll provide a full spread of cater for your business. They were reaching out to small businesses and for your business and your team. And I was like, I won, but I'm just a fashion designer and I don't know. And you know what happened with that? Speaking about that, they were like, I guess the assistant manager was like, you really like, you're only one person. We were thinking of providing this spread for like a corporation, like, a person who has a lot of employees. I said, yeah, but I'm planning a fashion show and I'm going to have a lot of people working with me that day. Why can't you guys just provide the food that day? And this person, I tell you, man, like when something's gonna be for you, they can make whatever on their. I mean, I already won. Why are you not honoring what I won? Like I was the winner. I was picked. I was announced on their Facebook page, on Twitter also, and they're still like saying oh this and that. But then I guess she spoke with her store manager and she's like, oh, you know what, we were just gonna call you, so when is your fashion show? And these people provided like an overflow of food. Like I had food. I mean, when I signed up for my catering space, my event space, the guy was already doing like appetizers for the people that were gonna for the audience, but Chick-fil-A provided way like I had models. I was telling them, please take something home. This is just way too much. I remember going that Saturday to pick up the food with my mom, and we were like coming down the stairs, the electric stairs at the mall when we went to get the food. Because I was like, all right, guys, thank you. They're like, wait, there's more for you. There's another tray of chicken. There's another tray of this. There's a salad tray. There's a cookie tray. And I was like, wow, this is just way too much. So it was just amazing how everything came together during that show. Everything I needed just came together. And then Julissa wanted also a red carpet. And the red carpet is a whole nother story. Like I'm making this video way too long, but it's just crazy. I was like, the way I see my stage, I was telling the person who owned the event space, I said, I want the real runway. How am I gonna make it runway? I said, I don't want the girls walking in this floor tile and sleeping. And I'm like, I need a rug. And he's like, oh, you can go to this rental party place. They can rent you a red carpet. Tell them I sent you. They might give you a discount. So I went there, And I was like, I was looking at the drapes and things like that, and I was like, I really want the drapes. It looks so nice, and I can put my logo. And they were like, oh, but the red carpet is 500 something. I was like, what? So I was already preparing the models. I mean, you guys just, we're gonna check the floor because I don't want you guys sleeping. But it just turns out that I actually went to the local Macy's, like the mall provided so much. It's so crazy. But I went to the local Macy's, and they're like, I said, you guys have any red carpets? And I remember they showed me, they're like, come here. And they used to have red carpets for display. And then the person who decorated the store, she's like, we're like planning on throwing this out. I said, how long is this one? She goes, it's 25 feet by 40 by something. I said, what? I don't even think that's gonna fit in my car. She said, well, it's yours, you can take it. And that thing fit in my car, my little car. And like, I'm gonna put a photo here for you guys to see it. It's just amazing. I mean, it's just, to me, how everything just came together. That little fashion show, like, I had a photographer, professional photographer. I have a catering place. I had models. I had the red carpet. I had everything was provided, like even the food for the model. Like, that night was amazing, and that goes to show you that faith without works is dead. You have to take the first step and do something. You have to, do something. I feel like we have so many dreams and ideas and things like that, and anything can keep us away. Like, I know, guys, like, I go through that. Like, I'm not sitting here saying everything that I wanted to do, I always done. But, because I have my days. I have my days when I'm like, that's just going to be too hard. And then I'll go back to it. And I'm like, why don't I just give it a try? But like I said, I have so many other testimonies for when it came for fashion shows and things like that. Moments where I never thought that people were going to come for the show, or like models were not gonna come and things like that. Like, God just made it possible. So, work is so important. I mean, I was gonna read your verse. Let me just find it here. So let me just tell you guys, laziness has no place in the character of a follower of Jesus. That's what I was saying before. Um, Having a lazy lifestyle is just gonna bring you a lot of bad consequences. I mean, even when God created the earth, the Lord God took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. That's Genesis 2:15. On Genesis 2:15, the Bible says, the Lord God took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. Um, this thing that they're doing is great if you really need it, if you're out of work, if you don't, it's becoming hard for you to get a job. But don't sit in the waters that are not moving. You gotta shake it up and keep moving ahead, because, like I always say, the sun will come again, the sun will rise again, and the earth doesn't stop moving. So you gotta go out there and just keep trying, keep knocking on doors. Like that guy told me, he said to me, "You're so persistent. But you want to come for an interview?" He's like, "I like that about you." I made the effort to call that guy every week, because one, I'm like, I needed a job, and I was like, I know that's a great place to work, because the pay was really good. I already knew somebody who worked there. That's how I knew about it. And I was like, it's gonna be great, because I had changed my entire schedule to make those 2 days available so I can get that job. So I made myself ready for it. So all he needed to do was to approve it, and he eventually did. So I hope you guys learned something from this video. If anything, I'm just trying to share my testimony so you guys feel inspired to keep doing, and please don't ever think that I also need inspiration to, like, I get my days. And just, by sharing my testimony, also kind of like, it's a reminder for me to know that God will provide. He will provide. He will, whatever it is that you want to do, take that first step. trust God, He will provide. God bless everybody. Thank you so much for subscribing.